Hello, Aries. I don't know if you're hearing this in the middle of your day or during a quiet, lonely night, but if you happen to stumble upon this message, know that nothing is ever truly by accident, because something is ending and something sacred is waiting on the other side. Someone is coming back, someone who once made your heart tremble, but what will surprise you is not their return. It's the way you, the version of you today, will meet them with entirely new eyes. Aries, this isn't just a story about love, it's the final cleansing of your soul, and if you stay with me all the way through, you won't be the same person by the time this ends, because to walk through the next portal, you must first accept a quiet death, the kind no one else sees, and that journey starts with the very first chapter. Right now, not everything that ends is a loss, not everything that disappears is wrong, and not every death has to hurt. Aries, sometimes the universe stops placing new things into your hands because it's gently removing what has already withered, what no longer belongs to your soul. It could be a relationship you once believed would last forever, a dream you fought for until your spirit bled, or a version of you proud, unyielding, always trying to hold everything together out of fear of losing. But the universe does not fear loss. It only believes in transformation. Aries, when it feels like you're losing too much all at once, pause and ask yourself, could this be not an ending, but a sacred cleansing ritual, orchestrated for you at the right time with the right people in this very lifetime, like rain washing off a rooftop long forgotten, like wind rushing through a door left closed for years? Death here is not a tragedy. It's an intentional unraveling. It's how the universe says, you can put that burden down now. You don't need to be strong anymore. You don't need to hold on. Some relationships are not meant to be saved, not because you didn't love enough, but because your soul already learned what it came to learn. Some dreams need to dissolve so that a deeper wish can rise. If your heart feels tired right now, if it feels like you're losing everything, listen closely. You're not losing, you're shedding. You're dissolving out of an old shape to make room for something your soul has never known. In Buddhist philosophy, death is not the end. It's one of the four noble truths: birth, aging, illness, death. No one escapes it, but everyone can choose how they walk through it. And those who walk through it with awareness are the ones who are reborn, right here in this very lifetime. Aries, you've always been the sign of initiation, not just to lead in victory, but to lead in awakening. When you let go, you're not stepping back, you're stepping forward into a higher plane of being where light shines, without needing a reason. All it takes is your courage to walk out of the dark space you once called home. If something inside you is dying, let it die. If someone is walking away, don't bless their journey. If a part of you is falling apart, don't try to fix it, offer it up to the sky as a sacred gift from a soul that's finally grown. Death is not always an ending. Sometimes it's the deepest compassion the universe can give, so that you may become lighter, emptier, open enough for light to pour in. And maybe you don't need to do anything at all. No fixing, no running, no clinging, just allow it to end. Aries, you are being handed a rare gift, the chance to end something consciously. Don't miss it, because not everyone is blessed to realize they're living in the exact moment when their soul is ready to be reborn. Right now, all you need to do is breathe. Breathe deeply, then gently place your hand over your heart and whisper to yourself, I give the past permission to close, that's all, and the new door will open. No knocking required. And just when you've learned how to let go, just when the pain feels like it's finally settled deep beneath your ribs, another door will quietly swing open, and standing behind it will be the eyes you once loved with everything in you. Someone who once left will return, not to start over, but to bring closure, to finish the story your two souls once left incomplete, because no ending is ever truly over if the heart still has something left to say. And perhaps that moment will arrive like a midnight wind, unannounced, unprepared. They'll simply come back, and your soul will know right away, this was never really finished. No one's ever truly ready for this moment, that instant when you wake up after a long, strange dream, and something inside whispers, someone is coming back. Someone who once haunted your heart, who felt like the brightest spring in your memory and the coldest winter the day they disappeared. You thought it was over. You folded the memories neatly, tucked them deep away. You dried your tears. You moved on. You built a new life, but your soul never said goodbye. And then, that day comes, an old message pops up. A familiar name flashes on your screen. A pair of eyes, ones you used to know by heart, catch yours in the middle of a crowd. Aries, this isn't random. This is the final call of a karmic cycle left undone. They're coming back, not to fall in love again, not to fix your heart, but to finish something that both souls quietly ran from. Sometimes love doesn't die. It just pauses, hangs in the air between unsaid words, between hugs that never held tight enough, between goodbyes that came too fast, and when your soul is finally ready to face it, the universe sends them back, not as a miracle but as the final mirror, not for you to see them, but to truly see yourself. You'll realize the one who once broke you is now just a chapter, not the whole story. You'll see you're no longer the one who waited for replies, who questioned your own worth. Now, you're calm, you look at them with gratitude, because the breaking made you shine. Aries, this return isn't a reward, it's the soul's final exam. Will you fall into old patterns again? Will you let old wounds reopen? Or will you stand tall, smile gently, and place the period that should have been there long ago? Love wasn't wrong, they weren't bad, you weren't weak. It was all a lesson. And like every lesson, there comes a day when you finally see. The real treasure wasn't how much they loved you, it was how deeply you learned to love yourself. Meeting them again isn't a chance to begin, it's the chance to end the right way. One last hug without the ache, one quiet gaze without the blame, one blessing from someone who once made you cry. And when you can look into their eyes, with peace, with presence, with clarity, that's when you'll know the part of your soul that once belonged to them is finally home again. There is no greater reward than becoming fully yourself, whole, no longer unfinished. And you deserve that. You don't have to repair what cracked. You don't have to force what wants to leave. You just have to accept. Every soul arrives to give and then go. So we can learn to love and then learn to let go. And Aries, you've learned. Now it's time to graduate. And when you pass this final test, something in the cosmos will shift. A new layer of energy will touch your life. As if the universe nods. Well done, you're ready now. From that moment on, the universe will open a rare opportunity. But it will only last 72 hours, a doorway, a turning point, a choice that could alter the rest of your life. Not everyone will see it, and not everyone will dare to walk through. But if you once dared to love, if you once dared to break, then now you can dare to release completely. There are moments in life when even if nothing is clearly visible, something deep inside you is shifting. A faint calling, a strange rhythm in your chest, a quiet knowing that you're standing at the edge of an invisible doorway. Aries, if lately you felt like everything around you is slowing down, as if the air itself is thick with silence, as if the universe is holding its breath, then know this, you're not imagining it. The universe is opening a portal for you, a sacred doorway that only appears when a karmic cycle is about to close. No one's going to tell you this, no letter will arrive, but your soul already knows, you feel it. In the way old people suddenly show up again, in the way forgotten memories rise to the surface without reason, in the questions that start to echo in your heart. Am I truly happy with what I've been holding on to? Aries, you are standing at a moment that could alter the entire trajectory of your life. In the next 72 hours, if you can say, I let go, I choose myself, then something rare will begin to unfold. You'll feel lighter, as if for the first time you no longer have to carry the weight of holding onto someone who was never meant to stay. No more proving, no more fear that letting go means losing everything. Because now you understand what's truly yours will never need to be held by fear. This portal is not for the hesitant, not for the ones still clinging to dead-end love stories, not for those waiting for a miracle from someone else. This gateway only opens for those who are ready to take full responsibility for their own happiness. If you're still asking, but how do I truly let go? The answer isn't in deleting photos or blocking them or cleaning your space. Letting go is when you no longer try to convince anyone to stay. It's when you stop needing an apology to heal. It's when you can see the full truth and still choose to forgive, even if no one's watching. You don't let go because you stopped loving. You let go because you finally understand. Real love doesn't trap you, it frees you to be yourself, whether that's together or apart. These 72 hours might be the moment you choose not to go back to a relationship that made you forget your worth. The moment you stop blaming the past. The moment you place your hand on your heart and say, I am enough. I don't need to repeat this lesson again. Don't think that if you don't walk through this portal, things will stay the same. The truth is, if you don't release this now, the lesson will return under a different name, a different face, but the same pain still waiting to be freed. Aries, you were born to lead not just others, but your own soul through its deepest fears. You were never meant to stay stuck in old memories. You were made to rise, brilliant, wild, and free. In meditation, they say, when you let go, you don't lose. You return to yourself. And in the next 72 hours, if you choose to return, the universe will hand you a gift you never expected. Not a new love, not instant money, but something deeper. The undeniable feeling that you are finally living in rhythm with your truest heart. This is the moment. No one can walk through that gate for you. No one can pull you to the other side if you're still holding onto the old rope. Only you with your own courage. Only you when your soul feels whole. And sometimes you don't need a giant leap. Just one quiet decision, one steady breath, one morning where you wake up and say, I'm not doing this again. And that is enough. The universe doesn't ask for much, only that you're willing to turn the page. When the chapter has faded so far, you no longer wish to reread it. And in that sacred silence, your soul will begin to whisper, a feeling like waking up from a long, heavy dream, a quiet exhaustion you can't quite name, a series of strange dreams and intuitions you can't explain, all of it, just one gentle message from within. I'm changing now. Sometimes the first thing that changes isn't your job, isn't a phone call from someone you used to love, but rather a strange kind of exhaustion. Aries, you wake up and your heart feels heavy, even though no one hurt you last night. You look in the mirror and your eyes just don't burn with the same fire they used to. You still smile, you still talk, you still go to work, but somewhere deep inside, something has started to crack. You eat less, or maybe you eat more than usual, but never feel full. You sleep, but you don't feel rested. You find yourself tearing up at an old song or quietly scrolling through pictures from years ago. Aries, what you're going through is not confusion. It's a silent kind of rebirth happening day by day, cell by cell. Intuition doesn't come with a loud voice. It arrives like a whisper you can't ignore. It slips in through that aching back, those sleepless nights, the sighs you didn't even realize you let out. Don't rush to fix those symptoms. They're not here to disturb you. They're here to tell you it's time to pause and listen. From a healing perspective, your body is the most honest messenger. It doesn't lie. It won't pretend everything's okay when your heart is breaking. It doesn't distract you like the mind does. It simply reflects the truth in a way that demands your attention if you're not sleeping. Maybe your soul is asking you to stay awake. If you feel restless, maybe part of you is begging to be seen. If you keep dreaming about someone from the past, maybe the lesson they carried is still repeating within you, even if they've long gone. Aries, you're not broken, you're not lost, you're not falling apart. You're being called home, back to your original self, where feeling, not logic, is the truest compass. This world teaches us that every choice needs a reason, a logic, a proof, an agreement from someone else. But the truth is, the biggest shifts in life often come from a feeling you can't explain. One morning you wake up and just know, I don't belong here anymore. This relationship isn't aligned with who I am now. I need to move. I need to change jobs, or maybe I just need to live a little lighter. You don't need a reason, you just need to trust that inner voice. Your intuition is the whisper of your soul, and if you're hearing it now, you're exactly where you're meant to be. You don't need to ask anyone, what should I do? Because deep down, you already know, you just haven't fully believed yet. That knowing, without needing to explain, is its own kind of wisdom. Your body is leading the way, it's reacting. It's rejecting the things that no longer match your frequency. It can't tolerate certain foods, places, people, because your soul has outgrown them. And the miracle is, the more you listen to your body, the more you reconnect with yourself. Not the version of you from yesterday, not the person others want you to be, but you, clear, whole, and unapologetically true. This reconnection doesn't come with fireworks. It doesn't mark itself with milestones. It shows up in the small shifts, like knowing when to stay silent instead of defending yourself, like softly closing an old message, without needing to cry, like saying no to an invitation you'd always accept, simply because it no longer fits your soul. All of that is your intuition rising, and deep within, your soul knows what's coming. It knows, because it's been waiting for this moment for a very long time. And when every part of you, body and emotion, finally says, that's enough, I'm ready to move on, the universe won't hold you in the old chapter, not even for another second. naturally, effortlessly, you'll be guided back to something deeper, something more honest, something that brings you closer to who you really are. Not everything you let go of leaves behind an empty space. Some things, when released, don't take anything from you. Instead, they give you back to yourself. Aries, after months of wrestling between logic and intuition, between holding on and letting go, you made a choice. You let go, not because you were weak, but because you were strong enough to know some endings are necessary, so a new truth can be born. And when you let go at the right time, with awareness, with gratitude, not resentment, the universe leads you to a strange place. But somehow it feels like home, a space that's quiet, not chaotic. A space where you no longer feel the need to cling to someone or something just to avoid feeling empty. It's the kind of place where you sit alone and don't feel lonely. You stay silent and don't feel lacking. You no longer need to shout to be understood, because you've come to understand yourself. You begin to realize true love never makes you doubt your worth. The right job doesn't steal the light from your eyes, and real money never asks you to trade your soul for it. Everything that once felt important suddenly feels light. Everything you once clung to no longer holds the same pull, not because it changed, but because you did. It's like an old shirt you used to love. It held memories, sunny days, childlike laughter, but one day you outgrew it and you realized, even though it was once your whole summer, it simply doesn't fit anymore. Aries, you're stepping into an entirely new space within your soul, not the kind of grand, cinematic beginning, but something softer, quieter, like the first morning light after a long, restless night. No more resistance, no more fear of change, no more need to prove anything. You don't need to be understood. You just need to be real, and from that truth, you begin to feel what's right for you. Your body reacts more subtly. Your intuition speaks more clearly. You know when it's time to pull back, and when it's time to move forward. You become more selective, more intentional about what's truly worthy of your energy. Step by step, you return to the real mission of your soul, not something you learned from textbooks, not what society labels as success, but something you feel in your heart that makes you glow from within, even if no one claps for it. Maybe it's helping others heal. Maybe it's creating something beautiful for your community. Maybe it's just being quietly kind every day. While the world fights over spotlights, whatever it is, you'll recognize it when it comes, because it will whisper to your soul, "This is me." No forcing, no pretending, no performing. And in that moment, you'll understand why they had to leave, why it had to hurt, why you had to let go, and why all of it was the prelude to something more real, more you than ever before. Aries, from this point on, every choice you make won't come from fear of losing. It will rise from a deep sense of inner fullness. You won't need to chase anyone else's light, because you are the light. You are the original flame. You are the beginning, and you don't need permission. But just before you step into this radiant new chapter, the universe has one last thing for you, one final gift, wrapped in the shape of an unspoken truth. A feeling you thought was long buried suddenly resurfaces, as if it's been waiting for you to face it and close the door. One last time. Silence is not always peace. And sometimes the most painful moment isn't the first goodbye, but the moment you finally understand why it had to happen. Aries, just when you thought it was over, when the past was cleared, the memories buried, your heart mended and moving forward, suddenly they return, but not with love. This time, they come back with the truth, and that truth may arrive in the most casual setting, an unexpected meeting, a late-night message, a short phone call, or a deep look into your eyes as they say, "I was always jealous of you. You were the one I kept running from. I loved you, but I wasn't worthy of that love." And just like that, everything you once felt in your gut but never had words for finally becomes clear. But it hurts. It really, really hurts. Because even when truth sets you free, it still knows how to cut. It can still tear open scars on a heart that was just starting to feel whole again. It can still make you cry, even if you no longer love them the same way. Aries, some goodbyes come late, not to rekindle but to end things fully, because every soul deserves to move on without emotional debt, because every love, even the failed ones, deserve a truthful ending. And sometimes that truth sounds like, "I never had the courage," or "You were too bright, so I had to leave." It's not an apology. It doesn't fix anything, but it gives you back the truth, so you no longer live in assumptions, no longer waste energy chasing answers that no longer matter. Aries, the one who left you when you needed them the most, is now returning when you no longer need them at all. How ironic. And yet, that's the strange gift of the universe, because only when you've become steady, clear, and whole can you receive their final words without falling apart. You will hurt, but you won't break. You will cry, but you won't hate. You'll shake for a moment. And then you'll stand with a release like nothing else. That's when it hits you. The truth didn't come to make you happy. It came to free your soul from all the questions with no answers. Maybe you thought you needed love, but what you really needed was clarity. Clarity to let go without regret. Clarity to stop hoping for what would never return. Clarity so you can open your heart to the new without carrying old ghosts inside it. We often say, forgiveness is for them. But really, forgiveness is your certificate of freedom. When you forgive their weakness, you're also forgiving the version of you who loved too deeply, who stayed too long, who didn't know how to walk away sooner. Love wasn't the mistake. It simply completed its purpose. And that person, even in their final return, still came to teach you one last thing. Even truth that arrives late still matters. So don't avoid this shock, Aries, because this is the final ache before your soul is finally free. And after all the words are spoken, after all the truths have surfaced, after every emotional layer is peeled away, there comes a strange stillness. You're standing there under the sunset, beneath the city lights, in a room that's familiar, or maybe not, and you feel it. Like someone just took a deep breath for you. A part of you has been returned, not from them, but from your present self, to the part of you that was forgotten for far too long. Not every return brings love with it. Some returns only come to complete an ending, and some don't come from anyone else but from you, Aries, after all the emotional earthquakes, after the shock of their final confession, after those moments when the truth hit so hard you could barely breathe. You stood up and realized something powerful. You had returned, but not to the person you once were. You came back to a version of yourself that's been purified through fire, shaped by pain and stripped clean of every false layer the world once placed on you. You're no longer the one who tried to hold on to something already broken. You're no longer the one who wrote long messages just praying for a reply. You're no longer the one who shrank yourself just to be accepted. You're not anyone else anymore. You're finally you. The greatest return of your life is not when they come back to love you. It's when you come back to love yourself, not with promises, but with presence. You stayed with yourself, through the midnight pain, through the emptiness no one understood, through the silence. When the world turned its back, you stayed. You held the softest part of your soul without judgment. That is love. And that, Aries, is the biggest turning point of your spiritual life. We're born with fire. But somewhere along the way, you used that fire to warm others, to keep dying relationships alive, to guide someone else back home, while you lost yourself in the dark. Now, your fire is no longer for holding on, it's for lighting your way forward. When you can stand alone and still feel whole, that's when you rise into the highest vibration of love. No need for approval, no need for applause, because finally, you see yourself. You look back on your journey with deep gratitude, even for the pain, because without those breaking points, you'd never know just how worthy you truly are. The moment you choose yourself is the moment you stop being the victim and become the awakened soul. You don't blame anyone. You don't resent the past. You don't need heroes or villains. You just understand everyone who entered your life was part of the plan, and everyone who left was part of your healing. When you choose yourself, you teach the world how to treat you. You say to the universe with your energy, I'm ready for what's truly meant for me. And the universe, which always hears the words you don't say, will respond with softness, with new people, new opportunities, love that doesn't cost your dignity, light that doesn't ask you to dim. Aries, this is no longer about finding someone else. This is about you finally finding yourself. No more waiting for a message, no more clinging to hope, no more questioning if you're wrong. You know now you're on the right path, even if no one claps, even if no one understands. You keep going, because this time you're going for you. This is the end of a long cycle and the beginning of a lighter, truer, deeper way of living. You've come home to yourself, whole, free, unapologetically you. Thank you for staying all the way through this journey. Thank you for listening not just with your ears, but with your soul. I wish you the clarity to always recognize the truth and the courage to live by it. Every day, one step at a time, slow but strong. If this message touched something deep within you, share your story in the comments, because sometimes A single truth spoken from the soul can heal someone else's soul too. And if today is the day you choose yourself, write it down like a sacred declaration. I choose peace, I choose myself. Then watch how the universe begins to shift around you.